What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. True Story, greatest podcast in the world. And you know who this is. This is the truth, the dad bod god, the bald, the beard, and the bloody beautiful Piers Austin. And tonight, we got a special one for you guys. So I tell you what, pour yourselves a cold one, crack yourselves a stiff one. Hell, even roll yourselves a green one because this is going to be an epic conversation. So sit back, relax, and we're getting into it with Shep Alexander right now. Break it down like this. And I was like, really? Like, baby face? And the heels were going on. Dude, I thought he broke his neck. The greatest podcast in the world. What's going on, guys? True Story, greatest podcast in the world. And I'm joined by one of my favorite people in the entire world. And yes, I say that about every guest I have on, but this time I actually mean it. The one, the only, Shep Alexander. Welcome to True Story.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Piers. You're a good man. Ever since I met you a month or two ago, I've been seeing your stuff, following your stuff, and it's been good. Yeah, you got a big back catalogue of guests. So my partner's been going through those episodes and listening.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome, man. I hope you didn't go through listening to try and prepare for this because, like I said, I like to think every podcast I do is kind of a little bit different.
Nah, no preparation, more just getting the goss. You know, we're seeing your shorts, we're seeing your reels, so you're doing everything right, man.
Oh, thanks, man. Look, well, you mentioned we met a couple of months ago. That was at the Integrity show, right? At St. Mary's.
Yeah, Integrity, Sydney, St. Mary's. So it was fun to get down there from Queensland. Great show. Dingo got the Lifetime Australian Achievement. So did Thunder. Felt like good vibes. I enjoyed my time with everyone.
You know what? We've spoken about it on the Thursday night show a little bit, and it was like how so many different people from so many different wrestling cliques came together. Is it weird to say that? It was such a weird, almost like a weird vibe backstage, but not really, because everyone seemed pretty chill and cool.
Yeah, it was very chill backstage, but it was interesting getting perspectives from different people and different cliques and different communities. You know, we're all one big community, but within that community, there's little subcultures and whatnot. And
for sure.
I felt good there. I had friends from so many different places. Zuzu came along. Zuzu's been a good friend, a good mate over the years. Every time he's come up to Queensland, you know, I've looked after him. He's looked after me when I'm in Sydney. So, but Zuzu's then you have, Zuzu's great. But then, you know, you had the guys like Robbie Eagles and Bonza on the card as well. And you had guys from Slam. It was a pretty stacked card.
It was a very eclectic group of individuals on the show. That's for sure, man.
Yeah.
But dude, so you being in Queensland, man, I always ask because I feel like Queensland is always treated like the redheaded stepchild in Australian wrestling. But you know, what's your take on that? Because it kind of does feel like that sometimes, right?
It does. It depends on if you're looking at Australia as a whole or there's so many people up here that haven't been outside of Queensland. So they don't know all this other stuff that's going on. But coming from Queensland, there is a bit of a negative stigma at times. And I think that's just due to bad promoters in the past. But I think most of the talent that have come out of Queensland that have traveled, they're primarily all good talent. You know, you got JL Gold, Bobby Bishop, AJ Istria, Zeke Andino, Tim Hayden, all these guys that are killing it, and they're good talent. They're all from Queensland. They're not pushovers or rejects. They're guys that could really go far given the right circumstances.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think there is a lot of good talent that is coming out of Queensland. And you definitely, I feel, seeing more and more of it. Especially when major promotions are sort of doing the tours like GCW, NWA, Impact as well. And you're starting to see some of those, Queensland talents getting spots on that, and the Australian spots on some of those cards are very slim. So it's good to
Yeah.
see that there's like bits of everyone getting an opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. And there's so many wrestlers in Australia, and so few spots. But also with independent wrestling, there's so many opportunity to create more spots. Um, so I think you're going to see more Queensland guys over the years starting to pop up, starting to see them around. And like, I'm very happy I got in at a time where there wasn't that much traveling happening from Queensland guys.
Yeah.
So I felt like myself and someone like JL Gold, we're very much at that forefront 7 years ago, just trying to get out there. We were coming down to MCW, PWA, um, all around the place, IWA, Sydney. So, like, now more guys are doing that. People are going to Japan and doing tours, and yeah, it's great.
Yeah. I mean, like for yourself though, breaking in 7 years ago, like you've gone over, you've traveled, you've gone to the Fale Dojo and
Yeah.
trained over there. How did you find the differences like from training like locally here in Australia, then going and training somewhere like the Fale Dojo?
Uh, um, I have been lucky that I've gone to travel all around Australia, train at all different places.
Mm.
Um, Fale Dojo, that was just, it wasn't just training, it was a full life experience because you're just living it. You just live in that training. When you're living at home and you can get in your car and just drive down and do 2 hours, maybe you get some cardio in and you learn from your coaches, that's all good. Um, and props to all the wrestling schools around Australia. But yeah, Fale Dojo, you're living it. You're having to train, eat, go back and train, and it's just that repetitive cycle. So I I think it really gives a lot to the wrestlers that put into it. That's what I would say.
It probably puts you like gives you a snippet into the window of what life would be like as a full-time professional wrestler. And some people can go, yeah, I can really handle this, and this is the lifestyle for me. And other people would go, well, you know what? Maybe just doing this on the weekends or doing this on a smaller scale is more up to what I'm prepared to put in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. It depends like how far you want to go with wrestling because I've had mates that have gone to the Fale Dojo and they've said to me like, "Oh, I'm never doing that again. I'm never going to like I don't want to go to Japan. I don't want to do those squats again. I don't want to start again." But then you have other people that are just like they live for that shit. They live for those squats. They live for being pushed. So there's all different types in wrestling, and I'm not going to discount the guys that aren't as crazy, passionate, or whatever it is. We all show that in different ways.
Oh, 100%. There's different levels, and people also are at different stages in life as well.
Yeah,
So,
like
I think that's another important input for it.
yeah, definitely. Like when I was at the dojo, I remember the coach saying like, "Oh, it's like being a rock star. You have to be willing to go away from your family over Christmas. You have to be willing to make all these sacrifices." And like for sure, I get that. Say if you're Jay White and you go to the New Japan dojo, um, and you spend 3 years over there without coming back to New Zealand, like that's sacrifice. That's a dude that's gone, okay, I'm putting everything into it.
For real.
Um, and yeah, Fale Dojo gives you a taste of that. I went for just under a year. I got to come back for Christmas, which was nice. So that was several weeks with friends and family. I got to go to a local Venom show and support my friends. But yeah, it's a different lifestyle.
Man, I can only imagine what it'd be like. Like that sort of full on training and that like I've spoken to a lot of guys and vets that were like trained at the power plant and some of the stuff that those guys went through, and it was like I can remember Alan Funk telling me he's like they were dragging guys back in that were like throwing up and trying to crawl out the door, and they're like pulling them back into the like dragging them into the ring and stuff. It's like that is crazy that you couldn't even quit if you wanted to. It's like, no, motherfucker, we're not done with you.
Yeah, not done. Like, man, I'm a fit dude,
Yeah.
and there were times where I spewed up I passed out. I remember doing like laps around the dojo, like around the block, and
Yeah.
each time I had to do it faster than the last one. So
Yeah.
obviously, when you're up to like lap 10, you're fucked. And like I I got to a point where like I just couldn't do it, and I was like stumbling, but guys picked me up and pushed me forward, and I think that's a very important thing within wrestling and the dojo, and just in life general, just picking each other up and pushing forward, and wrestling presents those challenges. So that's a good thing about Fale Dojo. You get to live that for like in 12, 13 weeks.
God, I can just like, please tell me the running around like the 10 laps was not a warm up. Because
No, like for a warm up, we always go for a run. But yeah, those
yeah,
10 laps, that's probably near the end of training. So we do things like upstairs in the dojo, do like 100 squats, and then go for a lap around the dojo. Come up, 100 push-ups, go for a lap around the dojo. So lots of intense stuff like that. We had a coach. His name's Tangi-san. I say san with everyone from the dojo just for the respect thing.
respect.
So
Yeah, sure.
san, Mark san, um, and yeah, Tangi-san is known as the Soul Taker, and he's this big muscle bound Kiwi, and he would just smash us. He would just kill us so much, and I don't know how much you can see it. Probably not that well on my camera, but within the first week of being at the dojo, my elbows were all cut up just from doing planks and just that friction of like doing lion push-ups, and it was just, yeah, my elbows got fucked. Just
Gee, was there ever any point when you were going through that, just going, "Fuck this"?
yeah, definitely. Like I'm not invincible, so it's human to have those like doubts and be like, fuck, what am I doing, what am I putting myself through? But that's why people at the dojo pick each other up. That's why, like, I've got a good support system at home. I've got people that I can talk to when I'm having that doubt, and being able to push through that. That's half the lesson. Then you bring that back to everyday life, and and when you encounter a problem, you're willing to actually persevere, as opposed to just being like, all right, fuck it, I'm done.
Yeah, I mean, well, that I think that there's always challenges, and especially if you want success in a certain field, I feel, when people sit there and they will this success into themselves, they want that, but I feel like with each success, there's always the struggle. Success
Yeah.
doesn't just come like someone doesn't just wake up in the morning and go bang, I'm a multi-millionaire. I I have this level of fame. Without having to sacrifice, without having to work for it, without having to grind for it. Like that level of success comes with a price.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And like at the Fale Dojo, where we're giving our time, so people were giving their money, depending on who you are, what your deal is, whatnot, and
Yeah.
you're giving your bodies. Like people outside wrestling don't realize how much you have to give in order to actually do wrestling. Like, as you said, there's different levels to it. There's people that can not take wrestling that seriously and rock up every few months and just do a random match because they're friends with the promoter.
Yeah.
Or there's people that really put a lot into it by doing training, by coaching, by doing other things in wrestling, like yourself doing a podcast. Like, there's so many elements to it of effort, and like that translates over to all entertainment, right? But we've chosen wrestling.
I mean, yeah. I mean, for the most part, and the thing is with wrestling, you mentioned people lifting you up, and I've always like, you always hear the history of the business. It's not about people lifting people up; it's stomp them down to the ground. So it's at least good that the dojo over there, the Fale Dojo, sort of instills that sort of team environment because on a show, there's no one person that can pull off a show. Like there's everyone that needs to come. It's a team effort. It's a collaborative effort to pull off a professional wrestling show. From a small to a major, it takes more than one person.
Yeah, definitely. I had some people come along last night and watch me at at Nightfall, and they were asking me, they're like, "How many people involved with this?" And there's going to be at least 40 people, and it got me thinking. Like, yeah, there's all the wrestlers.
Yeah,
There's
Booker. You've got
behind
the
wrestling,
ring
like,
crew.
yeah, and there's just so many people involved. So I think you need to have that mindset of being able to lift people up. Otherwise, like, you're just going to stomp over people and get to a point where someone's going to stomp on you. So fucking, I'd rather be in a position where I can be helping dudes, and maybe in turn it creates doors for me in wrestling or life, wherever.
Bro, that's not
But
what you were telling me before. You were telling me you plan on stomping motherfuckers out left, right, and center, bro. No, I'm kidding.
that's it. Yeah, next time I come to Sydney, I'm going to bury everyone.
No, I mean, I think it's a good mentality to have, man. Honestly, like, because like for the most part, like I have the best time when I'm on shows, when I'm on shows with my friends, when I can go out. Like, I mean, when you got to come out with us, it was like we all got to go out and eat. That's kind of like our little crew that we always go out and eat after a show, and that's cool because that's like at the end of the day, like when you go and you do that, but it's also you have that human connection with people as well, where it's like, all right, yeah, we go chill, eat, have a couple of drinks, whatever. You know what I mean? Like that is the thing I enjoy most about at the end of a show.
Yeah, that good social connection that you can make and just have with the boys and the girls, like it's good. I really enjoyed when we went and what was the like Greek or something we got, and
I don't even know what I don't think they knew what they were serving, but it was like some of the most dodgiest kebabs I've ever eaten.
dodgy kebab. That's a classic after wrestling, and it's
Yeah.
either that or Macca's, right?
Well,
Classic.
I would have preferred Macca's to be honest, because I feel like when I have a dodgy kebab, like I have to have at least about 6 or 8 schooners in me, like to really feel that I've got.
Yeah, it's that balance. Kebab, schooners.
Yeah. Well, you have to have the schooners first, like that. It goes sort of like a hand in hand, right?
Definitely. I'll remember that for next time I'm having a kebab. Like I'm getting some training in this podcast.
Hey
Like
man, that's it. That's it. To be a dad bod god like myself, man, you have to know the tricks, bro.
that's it. Like, Fale son, that's a big part of his training, making us eat. So we'd have barbecues all the time in the backyard. That's a good bonding experience.
100%. Yeah.
Barbecuing, eating with Fale son, him just being like, Alex, here you go. Eat this food. You need to get bigger. You're too skinny.
Oh man.
So
It's kind of like it's funny with wrestling how it has evolved now, where like there's so many different body shapes and sizes. Where you look back in the 90s, there's like guys that are just like juiced to the gills, and
yeah,
just like 6'8" and just have like veins popping out all over their bodies.
it's a different time. I think there's so many boxes you can tick.
Mm.
Just like anyone can be a wrestler now in terms of what you look like. But you still need to put that effort into training and understanding how to do things in the ring properly, so you're not fucking anyone up.
Yeah, well,
And
I feel like that's something that we do see from time to time, where and this is something that I kind of can see a point, and like you mentioned, the training that you were doing at the dojo, and I feel like if they could really hammer down something where professional wrestling is more regulated, because I
yeah,
feel like the prerequisite, okay, just to get into the learning how to bump, you must be able to get past this certain level of fitness, because I feel like in wrestling it's like, man, if you're tired, man, you're gonna fucking hurt someone. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like that's the thing. So I feel like there has to be a certain level of endurance, and I feel like if they can sort of get have this sort of commissionized or whatever it may be, you'll probably see a lot of smaller wrestling, feds and schools drop off. But the ones that are really exceeding that, I feel like, everyone should be able to, as a prerequisite, need to have a certain level of a gas tank and strength.
Yeah, definitely. I think up here in Queensland there's 3 count, and I know they have that strictness about doing tryouts, and people have to pass that, have a certain level of fitness, and then they have their different classes, beginners, advanced, have to pass certain things to get to different ones. So like I think that's a good way of doing it professionally. Um, but yeah, there's always going to be other training schools where they'll just take anyone off the street. And
Because that's what, like, I've spoken to people before, man. It's like, dude, I could sit there and get a professional wrestling ring in my backyard, put an ad out saying $50 a week, have people come in. Yeah, I'm a pro wrestler. Yeah, man, I can show you how to. I can show you how to fucking bump. No problem. Yeah, sweet. Yeah, I'll teach
yeah.
you how to cut a promo too, mate. You're good to go. Go get booked. Yeah, but the sad thing is, there's promoters that'll then book this said talent.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's just the world of professional wrestling. There's always going to be levels and different avenues. But in saying that, even some people that go through that route where they start in a fucking backyard, some of them become amazing professional wrestlers when given the right avenues and the right direction. Um, so, yeah, I think there's something for everyone when it comes to professional wrestling. Um, Obviously, people have certain standards they want to live by. And they want different companies to live by. Uh, I personally think just there's opportunities for everyone. That's my
There's
thoughts.
there is opportunities for everyone as well, but they've got to be willing to put in the work.
Yes, yeah. You just don't want to be booking a guy that's just rocked up and hasn't trained in months, or just I'm a pro wrestler and they've done like 2 matches and they're just mates with the booker. Like, yeah.
Have you ever been in that kind of situation where, like, someone's like, "Yeah, hey, look, Alex, we need you to wrestle this guy," and you're like, "I don't know about that."
Not so much me personally being in that situation where I have to wrestle someone pre-dodge. I've been very grateful, or like I am very grateful, because most of my matches, most of my opponents have been in a quite a professional setting.
Yeah,
Um, Whereas, there have been guys with that kind of attitude that have come in and wrestled other people I know, and um, guys that are just green as, and then they seem to have like a bad attitude to a lot of the wrestlers that are there all the time.
yeah,
Almost as if like, oh, I'm top shit because I'm coming in to do this one match, but no one knows me. And it's just, I don't know, I'm not really into that. And it's just a level of arrogance that isn't needed in wrestling. From guys that aren't properly trained, but they think they're a rock star.
but I think that's one of those things. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, you see it from certain people, and they go, you know what I mean? Like, they come in and they think that their expectation is they should have been made the champ 3 shows ago. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, but I feel like it's that sort of attitude. It's like those sort of people don't really get embraced very well. You know what I mean? Like, they're the more like people are like, oh yeah, cool, and you can sort of like see it, and those people get exposed very quickly.
Yeah, yeah. Like obviously, there's so many different roles to fill on a wrestling show. I've been champion. I've won belts. If I win belts soon again, okay, whatever. But there's other roles that I can fill. Like me personally, I really like bumping. I like making guys look good. I wrestled Bruiser last night. He's the VPW heavyweight champion. He's a big dude, so he just threw me around and I bumped like
Yeah,
crazy. My back and neck and stuff are a bit sore today, but I fucking love that shit. Like that's why I do wrestling. I don't do wrestling to look like the man. I do wrestling because I want to entertain the crowd
yeah.
and give my opponent something. So
And also understanding what your role is for that night as well. You know what I mean? Like it's different. Like I actually really enjoyed the match that you guys did in Integrity. You know what I mean? Like managing this and the small collaboration with with you and Vinny and I during this match. So I thought
fun.
that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm glad Vinny and I could come eye to eye and work together a bit. Like I don't know, just as soon as I met him, we just clicked, and he's a bro. So I'd love to do some tagging with him sometime, or just be around him more. I'm looking forward to him going up to Brizzy. I'm going to take him out to dinner.
Oh yeah, man. He's one of my honestly one of my best friend in the business. Like me and him talk on a daily basis almost. It's but yeah, like it definitely would be something fun to see you guys do some work together, man. That'd be cool.
I'm sure it'll happen. Like I'll get to Integrity again sometime. Just my dates are pretty full, so we'll work it out eventually.
Oh, 100%, man. You know, you're the A-lister superstar of Australian wrestling, man, for sure.
I appreciate it.
Hey, man,
Grinding hard.
yeah, grinding hard, brother. You know, just trying to keep these marks down. You know, so
Yeah, brother.
it's crazy though, man. Like when you look at yeah, because you seem like such a positive dude, and I feel like in wrestling there's always like this certain level of ridiculous heat that sort of goes around with people, and like with certain groups as well. It's like I don't know if you see it like in Queensland as much, but it's like Sydney is like, oh man, no, don't talk to them, like this person's a fuckwit because like I have beef with them from 8 years ago. And it's like, really?
Yeah, like I guess there is that up here to a degree, but I think a lot of people, especially around me,
Yeah.
have grown as people over the years. Like we're not kids anymore.
No.
So I'm not one to go out of my way to talk shit about someone, and I would hope that if someone has an issue with me, they can come and talk to me. And in the past, that's been a good way to go about it. I don't think anyone has any heat with me. If they do, I'm here, you know.
I mean, you're a pretty chill dude. I can't imagine too many people have to meet with Shep Alexander.
I definitely went through my arrogant stage with wrestling. You know, when you were like fucking 1 year in, and we were doing 18 plus shows, so there were always like, girls hanging out that were like super into us as the wrestlers, and like I went through that arrogant stage. I was probably a prick at some point. Like I've said things that I regret to people, but I've also had to go through life experiences to
Oh, for
not
sure.
be that asshole.
But I think you live and you learn though in those experiences as well. But did you ever have anyone check you? Go, hey, listen, fuckhead. Like, like, did anyone ever pull you up on it?
I don't think I went to that degree of being a complete asshole of being pulled up on it. I think
Sure.
maybe back in the day when Todd was managing me, he did give me some good direction in terms of like, hey, like you probably shouldn't act this way or do this kind of thing. So that was helpful when it was helpful.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, but like being young and full of bravado, that sort of comes with being
Yeah.
a young man in early 20s or whatever it may be, and just wanting to flex a little bit. So
Yeah. I think like, yeah, I had that young arrogance party kind of thing, but also within my group of friends, I very quickly became the dad or the person that's like, oh, you guys, you sure you want to do that?
oh, you
Oh,
were that guy. You were that guy.
okay. We used to have a lot of parties, and I would either have them at my house or my apartment,
Yeah.
just so I wouldn't have to like go out anywhere. I wouldn't have to go far,
Yeah.
So I lived in this house, and it was with a bunch of other wrestlers and one of my high school mates. So we were every weekend we would be partying. We would be working 18 plus shows, other shows, and like it was a good time. Old wrestle house, that's what we used to call it. Uh, but yeah, some of my friends are a lot wilder than me. So
Yeah. They got
yeah,
into
I got the fun experience of sitting back and just observing a lot more. You know, maybe smoking some ganja and just observing and.
Nothing wrong with that. I feel like smoking weed is nothing but like bad. I feel like everyone should do it, really.
Like everyone does it nowadays. Well, I say everyone, but like you,
I
99% of people like.
I get it from certain workers who'll be like, "Hey man, I watched the podcast. I know you smoke. Hey, you want to go have a joint after the show?" And I'm like, "Yes." I'm gonna try and be good here, and I'm like, yes, I am.
Well, like I'm on the medical stuff, and as a wrestler, like it helps with back pain, it helps with migraine, it helps with anxiety. So like
Yeah.
there's more benefits to it than there isn't, as I see it.
Man, I'm the same way. Like I genuinely enjoy it, and to the like I'm on the medical stuff as well. And for me, I would rather like consume that than drink alcohol. Like I would rather be like, okay, after mowing the lawn, sitting there and just being like, all right, now I can sort of space out. But
Yeah.
for me, I do it as a late night thing, you know, when the kids are in bed, wife's in bed, or
Yeah.
before I'm doing a podcast. You know, I do it when I'm doing something creative, but to me, it's always sort of helped to level it out and just sort of, you know, unwind and sort of tune the brain off at the end of a stressful day.
Yeah, make it so you are in control of it rather than it being in control of you. I think that's
Oh
very
yeah,
important with anything like ganja or alcohol or whatnot. And like I like smoking, but I
you ever
I
done edibles?
yes, yeah. I remember I had some edibles once and it was a New Year's party and all these people were around me just talking, talking, talking. I was
Yeah.
sitting there but taken in everything, and it was a good time. That was when I was younger, and it wasn't legal. But
Oh, dude, I remember the first time I did it. I was like 19, and I was dating this girl who like just came back from a holiday in Nimbin and bought like a whole container of like biscuits. And she came to my place, and me and like my housemate, his girlfriend, and this girl and I, we had like one of these biscuits, and she's like, "Just have one because they're really strong." And I'm like, "Oh, whatever." So like, ate two of them, and then like half an hour later, just like, I can't move any part of my body right now. Like I literally had no movement. I was just like, "Oh fuck!" Like it scared the fuck out of me.
oh really? Oh.
Oh
But you've
yeah,
recovered now. You've recovered. You're more open to having them again.
well, no, well the last time then I had them recently, and I had given these two 30 milligram ones, and I had one. It was like half an hour later, I didn't feel anything, so I had the other one, and then 10 minutes later, I felt everything, and like these things were really really good, and it was like, man, I was like, this is so much better than smoking. I would eat like edibles are my thing, like without a doubt. I would be like, yeah, I'll go the edibles.
Now you know. Some people were vape guys. Some people were J guys. You're an edible guy.
Yeah, I mean, well, the oils as well. Like the oils that you get are pretty good.
Yeah, like when I was doing the whole starting the medical marijuana thing, they started off with oils. Um,
Mm.
and like with my prescriptions, I have access to oils, and they're good for like, especially if you're just having pain and you're in
Mm.
that consistency of having it. Like it's helpful. I'm glad it's gone to the point where it is.
Well,
Uh,
it's interesting because like when I interviewed RVD, he was actually telling me about there's this certain chemical in ganja, which is like I think he said it was THG, and apparently it helps with recovering from like people with brain trauma. And it's like, yeah, that's exactly what I said. He's like, yeah, man, they medically ruled me out of wrestling, but guess what, baby, I'm back. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, no, he was legit telling me that there's a certain thing like THC, THG, CBD, like one of those acronyms that actually treats brain trauma, like people that have been in like intensive car accidents or like been dropped on their head from great heights and all sorts of weird shit. And you said like this stuff is like magical.
Yeah, it's amazing how far like marijuana has come. So yeah, helping people with those accidents. I know that one of my mentors in wrestling, this Australian Wolf, he had cancer several years ago, and CBD oil really helped him in terms of his recovery. Uh, and yeah, shout out to him. He just had a kidney removed this last week because
Oh
he had
damn.
cancer. So I hope he's doing well. He's a guy that has done so much for Queensland wrestling. Like almost 98% of guys out of Queensland wrestling have been trained by him or have been influenced by him in some way. So, yeah.
Man, hope he's
I hope
doing well.
yeah.
Yeah, sending out their source to him, man. That's crazy, dude. Like, but CBD is another thing. Like, I've seen like you can get CBD creams as well. Like, if
Yeah.
you've got like certain muscle pains or certain like muscle injuries, dude. Like, they are just finding everything to use for this sort of stuff.
Yeah. I know when they were filming Young Rock over here, uh Chavo had some like CBD cream, and one of the actors said that like because Chavo was teaching them all how to wrestle, so these actors were having a bump and run the ropes and do parts of their own stunts. So yeah, he had this CBD cream that some of them were using just to help with their pain, and like it's real, it works.
Yeah, man. Well, dude, it's yeah, and it doesn't like necessarily CBD doesn't actually get you high either. It's more of a
No, so
relax.
like if you ever see me having a smoke in the car park or whatever before a show, I'm not going to be like blazing up backstage right before I go out. But if I'm having a smoke on that day, it's going to be CBD, and that's not going to fuck with my performance whatsoever. If anything, it's going to make me in less pain and less anxious, and then I can put on better performance with my opponent. So
And it's more natural than taking like a pain medicine or something like that. Like it's not going to
yeah,
intoxicate you
yeah.
to a level at all.
Yeah, like why would I want to take codeine and get drowsy or endone and be super fucked and drowsy when I could just have a bit of a J or a vape and then it's like cool, I'm good to go.
That's what like I was actually watching Dark Side of the Ring
Mm.
before we jumped in here, and I was watching the Bam Bam Bigelow episode, and it was like how he was just enamored with like dropping oxycontins and
Yeah,
all these pills just to sort of be able to get up throughout the day. And it's like you see in that like generation of wrestling where there was so many guys that were in the early 2000s that were dropping off at early 40s or late 30s, which I'm 42, and to
yeah,
think about like guys dropping dead at 38 and
yeah,
45, like that was like, I mean, even my wife said tonight we were watching the Bigelow thing, and she's like, he was 45. She's like,
yeah,
what a waste of life. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like young kids and stuff like that. But now you see wrestlers that really take care of themselves a lot better than what they did back in that day.
yeah. It is important to look after your body. Like even though I went to the dojo and did thousands of squats and all that kind of training, most of my training nowadays at home is pre-habilitation training. So it's doing stuff to have my knees good. It's doing stuff to have my shoulders good. It's making it so that when I hit a clothesline, I'm not going to dislocate my shoulder. Um, and you combine that with pain medication, marijuana 100% way better than popping 60 Oxycontin pills. So I think, yeah, wrestlers are a lot smarter now in terms of how they can look after themselves.
Oh, I think as well, yeah. Like the world of medicine has evolved as well, and I think now people have also seen the long term negative effects on what certain things do to your body as well, like somas and stuff like that. Like I've heard some stories, man, from certain people like in the business that were around, and some of the stuff that they saw was just like,
Yeah.
man. like crazy shit. Like people almost like he told me once. One guy told me this one story. He saw in a locker room where one guy like took a needle, drew blood out of his arm, and gave it to another guy to shoot up, so the guy could get high off that guy's blood. That's some crazy shit, right?
Yeah, I'm glad we're way past that. Like, I've never been in a locker room that intense before.
Hey man, but that's how what the business was back then, bro.
Yeah.
Like now it's definitely a more safer place for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think that's a big thing nowadays. You want it to be a safe, good locker room for your wrestlers and for your performers, like everyone involved. You want it to be good vibes. So yeah, no injecting blood here.
No, definitely. Yeah, no, thank you. Do you think fans should be policed as far as what they say in the crowd and what they yell out in the crowd?
I think there needs to be overall leniency, but I think there needs to be some policing in a sense of if you're at a show and someone is, shouting out faggot constantly or yeah, I think there's a fine line
Yeah,
because I know people can get triggered nowadays and you just have to go with the way that the world is evolving. Because we used to run 18 plus shows, and there were times where drunk people would be like shouting all this stuff and being derogatory towards like the women. Like, the women shouldn't have to be wrestling, and all they hear is just a bunch of drunk
cat
guys.
calls.
Yeah, like, we don't need that. So that's where I see it in terms of policing the audience.
Yeah,
But yeah, in general, I think wrestling fans should be loud and into wrestling and be able to get behind the wrestlers and make chants. If I'm a heel, make fun of me. Uh,
mm,
make fun of that heel, make fun of that heel. Like, give them shit, swear at me. I don't care. But obviously, there is that line where you're not going to be demonizing someone sexually or
yeah. I
along
mean,
those.
I think there's a fine line as well. Like, there's
Yeah,
one thing like when I've been at shows and like I'll see like a fan or something going, "Yeah, fucking," and I'm just like, dude, you're sitting next to a child. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like some people need to be remembered like certain decorum. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, where, hey, if you're at an all ages show, don't yell out swearing stuff. Don't yell out, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Show us your tits. Um, because I will, and that'll scare everybody off. No, I'm kidding. But
yeah.
like, you know what I mean? Like it's I feel like there's definitely does need to be a certain level of it. But I feel for the most part, like I don't know about you, but you don't see a lot of shows where people are yelling homophobic sort of slurs or comments like that.
No, like, people are evolving, right? So maybe 10 years ago, there are a lot more homophobic slurs or a lot more like saying things that just aren't a normal thing to say anymore. I remember growing up and people always been like, "Oh, that's gay" or whatever, but like, that's not an insult anymore. And to go down that route is just silly at this point, right?
Oh,
Uh,
100%. And but I feel like if you're going to get that, like if a fan is going to get that worked up
yeah.
that they're going to call you that, it's like, brother, that's some heat. You know what I mean? Like, you like, yeah, like, like, you know what I mean? Like, I think there's double-edged swords as well. Like, I don't think, homophobic, comments and names and
Mm.
stuff like that is warranted at all. But like in the same sense, if you get someone that angry that they just go, you fuck. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
dude, you got work. They got worked. You know what
Yeah,
I
you
mean?
gotta work people. I know there's just obviously different levels of working people. Um, I think you don't see it that much or as much in in a lot of indie wrestling. Like, a lot of wrestlers sometimes forget that the audience is there, so they forget to work the audience.
Mm,
I think it's very important as a heel, well, both babyface and a heel, to connect with that audience. Um, and to make it so they will have a reaction as opposed to just going through a bunch of spots. Like,
Oh, 100%. 100%.
yeah.
But I feel like, yeah, I mean, well, maybe that just comes down to a nervousness as well for certain people as well, like
Yeah.
going there and being like, oh shit. You know what I mean? Or they might feel a little bit silly tormenting the crowd or whatever it may be. But that's the part of the performance. That's you know what I mean? Like that's one of the things that's like I remember like one show I was on and I was managing Banks, who's this big Lebanese guy, and we walked out to the crowd, and this woman in the front row like screamed out at him. She's like, "Shake your hairy man boobies," and like me, without even thinking, just fired back on the mic and went, "You first, sweetheart." And the whole crowd just was like, but you know what? Like for the most part, like I thought, oh, well, there's like a body shaming thing I've just done or whatever. And after the show, she was like, "That was incredible, thank you." Like she loved it. You know what I mean? But it's like,
Yeah. Well,
it's
it's like comedy. It comes down to different situations, different times. Like she's the one who put that out there, and you responded with something equal, right? It'd be different if like you as the wrestler was just trying to get heat by like saying that kind of stuff to anyone all the time or whatever to actually be an asshole. So
I
yeah,
think
it
that would
goes
be
both
pretty cool to see someone go to that level of heel, though.
well,
Like, come on.
I called a bunch of people wankers in Melbourne the other week. Oh, not Melbourne, Geelong. Sorry.
Yeah, really.
When I go Victoria, I just say Melbourne.
Everything's Melbourne, right? I'm the
and just,
same.
yeah. I called them a bunch of wankers, and that was fun. And, you know, I felt fine doing that, and they had fun doing that. You know, they chanted back at me. So, yeah, no lines crossed there.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the, I don't know. Like the worst thing I think I've called a crowd is a bunch of bush pigs. Because I don't know, well, you know what I mean? Well, I'm not like labeling one particular person bush pig. I'm just saying, look at you all bush. You know what I mean? Like it's just you
like,
direct the
that's
entire
getting you heat. You're coming from the big city. You're out there in the bush. You give them shit. Like that's how you work a crowd.
yeah, exactly.
And that's very different to like obviously crossing some line when it comes to society norms around gender and homosexuality and whatnot. But yeah, I think getting heat, being a heel, that's a lot of fun, a big part of wrestling. And I guess, you know, I try to be a positive and friendly person all the time. So sometimes it's all right to just, you know, flip that switch and be able to go out there and call a bunch of people wankers.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes if the shoe fits, you just got to call them wanker.
And they like it. They like that interaction. They like being called a wanker. So I may as well, right?
But I feel like, well, because that's the thing is like most of the fans that go to the show like know what's going on, and it's like, you know what I mean? Like even after the shows and stuff, like people are just like, "Hey, hey, you know what I mean?" Like, yeah, I couldn't just like, without like someone seeing me walk to a car and just go, "Fuck off, get," you know what I mean? Like that's so cunty. Like,
I think I am absolutely the worst at staying as a heel after the match or whatever, because kids come up to me and whatnot. I want them to have a good time. I'll still like put on this like, you know, say to their dad or whatever, like, "Oh, you should go in the ring with me." But that's like jostling around. That's having fun. That's being a heel, but bringing that kind of energy where you can work with and whatever the audience is.
Yeah, for real. And then even then, the kid goes, "Oh man, that wrestler wanted to like fight my dad."
Yeah. And then they still want a photo with you and they have a good time. And that's the aim of the show, right? Like to entertain fans and these kids. And yeah.
100% to bring them in, man, and to let them be captivated for that time that they're there for the show, man. But dude, as we wrap up here, man, why don't you let everyone know where they can find you on social media, where they can find you on the Twitter machine, X machine, Instagram, Threads, Facebook, all that good shit.
X, Instagram, Facebook, all simple. It's just Shep Alexander PW. So yeah, you can look me up on any of them and you'll come across me and see this beautiful face, probably getting punched and thrown around, and because that's what I do.
Well, make sure you go and give him a follow everywhere. Also, guys, make sure you go and check out our sponsor, Jericho Australia. Now, Jericho Australia has all your beard care products taken care of. They have me looking on point every time I step out of the house. They've got beard butters, beard balms, beard oils, shampoos, brushes, and much, much more. Go and use that promo code True Story for 15% off your final purchase. Every single purchase. Do yourselves a favor and go and check them out. But guys, till next time, take care. All the best, and we'll see you again very soon. Shep, appreciate you for jumping on the podcast, man. Till next time.
Yeah.
Peace out, bitch ass motherfuckers.
Break it down like this.
And I was like, really? Like, baby face? And the heels were going over. Dude, I thought he broke his neck. The greatest podcast